younger generation to take up this responsibility, whether it's electoral time, to recognize their power, their strength, and to recognize the fact that if they do not mobilize and take this nation back, they will have no future. And before this event took place, the youth appeared to have been thinking things out for themselves and finally come out to say, so far and no further. And for me, my job here today has been simplified because the message is loud and clear at long last. I'll just make one or two statements about what's been going on, just in case it is either not articulated sufficiently, being understated. I read the Vice President's statement this morning. I'm very glad that at least somebody in the presidency is articulating what to me is common sense. This is not simply about SARS. This goes deep, deep, deeper than the issue of one security agency alone. When I sound very stern with youth, it's simply because I have been disappointed that they do not recognize, they did not appear to recognize their own strength, and also their ability, their responsibility to use that strength rationally, judiciously, and productively, proactively, not waiting to respond to issues that concern themselves as members of this community and the national community together. There's so much concentration on SARS that I'm afraid that the whole issue of security in this nation will be lost. It's not just the police, although of course it's essentially the police. They're the ones who are supposed to interact with the community on a daily basis, on an organized basis, far and beyond the military. But what is the record of the military itself, even today, and we're supposed to be under a civilian regime? How long ago was it that a woman was stripped naked by some soldiers because what she was wearing was supposed to look like a military camouflage? She was stripped naked and whipped, then taken away. I asked myself, but where is public response to this kind of incident, which is not uncommon? And so why should anybody be surprised when eventually the police, because the police is not all that impotent, they do achieve certain successes. They must have made that. For instance, when they arrested, after a lot of investigation, this dangerous lunatic, kidnapper, kingpin, in, I forget what state now. Wadume, that's his name, man's name. What happened? Who rescued Wadume, the king kidnapper, from police clutches? It was the military. In the process, they unraveled what must have been several months' painstaking work to track this man. But of course, he was already in cahoots, not so much with the police, but with the military. And so the military, the rottennecks as usual, when we say military and we say police, yes, we're talking about the rottennecks, so we'll use this, sort of generically, the expression. So it was the military which mobilized, rescued this man, and shot the police. But that's not all. It goes beyond that. When we talk about security, we talk about law also. We're talking about agencies which do not don that uniform. We're talking about the judiciary. Wadume has been recaptured. He's under trial. But Where are the soldiers? At my last check on the trial going on, the soldiers involved are yet to be charged to court. On the contrary, the Attorney General of this nation took their names off the charge sheet. Till today, well, during discussion, maybe some of you are better informed than I am. Till today, nobody knows what's happening to the soldiers who actually killed the police, shot them, chased them into the bush, rescued this kidnapper, cut off his handcuff, and sent him to continue to kidnap who? The military? No. To continue his mission of kidnapping you and me, ordinary civilians with no protection of their own. So let's all understand that this goes beyond just a unit of security. It's pervasive throughout, and it goes back a long, long way. Some of you may be old enough to remember during the civilian regime, the Inspector General of Police, who was, of course, a tool of that civilian government, who strutted onto television, festooned with grenades, bristling with weapons of mass destruction, and literally told us that we better bow to their superior power during the time of the elections. No, he was not coming on television to say, look, this is supposed to be a democratic regime. Don't carry off ballot boxes. Don't pour acid into ballot boxes. Just queue up. We're here to maintain order and to protect all of you. No, he came there to say we have rigged the elections and you had better behave because we know how to deal with you. I'm not going to mention any names today, but those of you who want to know who I'm talking about, just go and check among those who were around at the time. And what happens when the military see that kind of conduct? Policemen, they say, look at this bloody civilian. We can command superior power. And so they challenge the police, they brutalize the civilians, and they cow the nation, force even young people to believe in the philosophy of crude violence. And so when they leave the stage, it's a roulette, it's musical chairs. And so they leave the stage, the police come back, and say, oh, I see, it's because we are not the military, that's why you don't respect us. And so they turn and torture us. The people they're supposed to protect become the real victims. How long ago was it when the police, this Endsars, I think, it was in Abuja, who went on their rounds of hotels, just swept up all the women they found. I mean, even prostitutes, if we all disapprove of prostitution, but prostitutes are human beings. And so any single woman that they found in the nightclubs, in the hotels, they rounded up, they brutalized them, they raped them, arrested many of them, made them pay through the nose with the sweat of their bodies now to obtain their relief. One idiot who writes to the newspapers was talking about Wole Soyinka not coming to, weren't hearing anything from Wole Soyinka. When I read him, I said, you know what those women did? They mobilized. They mobilized, they charged them to court, those who managed to, they worked to rescue the rest. Now that's what I call civic responsibility and sense of dignity. He said, yes, we may be prostitutes. You have no right to brutalize and dehumanize us. You have no right to rape us. And I asked this idiot, I think it was this day newspaper, what did you do? You are supposed to be part of the citizens of this country. What did you do? Did you come out to rescue, to restore the dignity of those women? So we all have a responsibility. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't just sit back and say, oh, it's okay, they've sold out. Oh yes, we know their bread is being buttered and so on. Concoct all kind of things, turn yourselves into Yahoo children, spend all your time in cafes, hacking into people's what do they call it, accounts and so on. Fake news, always. Concocting false websites, which even the people whose name you put are not even aware of. Putting words into people's mouths. Framed with photographs. Total phoning. Again and again I said, why are you such cowards? You cannot even speak in your own names. You have to fake what you have to say. Attach Wole Soyinka's name to it. Say, what kind of respect is that? For yourselves, not so much Wole Soyinka. And others whose names, whose identities you steal on the internet. What kind of respect is that? You lack the courage, you lack the guts to speak in your own voices. So you have to attach other people's names. Yeah, I don't know at the last count how many false websites in Wole Soyinka's name. Some of them they are selling, maybe they're even selling cocaine, I don't know. Wole Soyinka's Facebook, advertising, heaven knows, all kinds of things. Some of them have their situation. I broke one circle, located, believe it or not, Nigerians in Croatia. The address was an undeveloped site. The address, the physical address, I closed down that website. So you don't even allow one to speak in his or her own name, in their own language, when they are ready to adopt whatever means they consider fitting for a particular situation, to bring your little ignorant self to try and push your language into the mouths of other people. And they expect us to get up each time. Well, we don't know what you've even said on our behalf. I don't know how often I get messages like Yaman and the others, Prof, this doesn't sound like you. I said, oh, wait a second. This doesn't sound like me, because it's not me. What on earth, when on earth, are you going to come to yourself, come to age, come of age, and recognize the fact that you have just as much right as those who are old to express yourself? This is the tree of liberty, you know, because what's the actual name we give to it, Bill? Established here. We could say you can come here and say whatever you want to say, and nobody can touch you. When was that tree launched? Speaker's Corner said, this is the liberty tree. How many years ago? I don't know how many of you have used it. And of course, I'm not just talking to those of you who are here today. It's been there. Unchanged, that sculpture. Yeah. And in any case, you don't need to come there. Wherever you are, it be liberty tree. But finally, as you said, you pulled the rug from under my feet. You came out, finally. I was in Czechoslovakia when this began. Prague.
Prague, yeah, Czech.
I very much regretted that I was missing this. Not that I would have participated, but I was taking a ringside seat and said, at last. What was that black cry? Praise Lord, at last, free at last, free at last. Yes, you're finally freeing yourself. I congratulate you, congratulate yourself. It's about time. We've seen this before. It's not new. But then we go through years and years and years, and then we ask, where are the youths? Wasn't this in this place a monster called Sonny Abacha was fought, was stand still? As I wrote in my You Must Set for That Dawn, when I narrated the various aspects, the various angles of dissent, of opposition to that monstrosity. But it isn't only when it is overt that you are being turned into slaves. No. Enslavement can go on in civic society continuously. You keep quiet, and those chains get heavier and heavier. You keep grinning, and believing that you're liberated human beings. You turn your anger on even those who are trying to help you, trying to help the community. No, nothing really special about it. You brutalize their images, you lie, you concoct. You feel good about it until it becomes unbearable. But the handicap has grown, and you have to exert far more energy and lose a lot more than you would have done if you were alert, constantly alert to what is happening and responding with the appropriate measure for whatever anomalies, unacceptable events going on in society. So finally, you come of age. And the message which I have for you is that I'm here and I will transmit whatever message you have. So those are my opening remarks. And now, the floor is open. Liberty Tree, Speaker's Corner.
Thank you very much, Prof. Well, it is supposed to be an exchange, so we're going to have some of the, I think this is fun. We're going to have an exchange now, so those who have questions and comments, we're going to give privilege to the representative of the Lagos Island Connect, because they're actually the special guest of honor here. So Bruno, are you here? Oh, okay, come. You should be the one to do the first comment or question, and then that's opening the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Prof.Wole Soyinka. Thank you for coming for this event and paying attention to the reactions of the youth as regards governance and social, economic, and political situations in Nigeria. My name is Sopu Garuba, popularly known as King Sobrino I. And I would like to hear your reactions about this long-term, what's it called, phrase about youth being the leaders of tomorrow. And at some point, some people change it to be youth to be leaders of today. I don't know, what do you have to say about that, sir?
Leadership is constant. Cliches like leaders of tomorrow, I don't like to hear it. There are some very old people who are young in their heads. There are some very young people who are senile. They have compromised so much all their lives that they are indistinguishable from those ancients with rosy cheeks. So don't let's be too literal. For me, every human being is a potential leader. From time to time, it is possible to say, right, let us now formally, structurally become leaders. Such opportunities come during elections. And don't just think in terms of the presidential elections alone. We're talking about governorship elections, House of Assembly, local government, everywhere, whatever level. Yes, you're potential leaders, and you can carve your own niche within your own community, even informally. Let me give you an example. Some years ago, I inaugurated a prize for, in memory of Ken Sarubiba. The first winner was a young man. I forgot his age, I think under 21 certainly, who mobilized. What did he do? He was just a student, and very young, and he called his community together. There were religious riots, and he called his community together, and he said, look, they may be mad outside, they may be killing one another over there, but here, let us create a cordon, let us draw a cordon sanitaire At least nothing of that madness was take place here. He was the first winner of the Kensarawiwa prize. And so on. Then there is another instance, very quickly, to the youth corps who's assigned to a particular village, a particular small town. And he created a kind of dam irrigation system over there, and he was actually even honored by the community. They recognized him as a leader. In that particular village, the pattern, for those who don't know the story, the pattern was that when the monthly allocation came, it was split into four. One, the local emir, or the head of the something there. 1/4 to the chief of police, 1/4 for salaries, and then the remaining quarter, allocated to, just some token transformation over there. And he looked at it, and he was summoned in. He was regarded. I think they put him in one of the quarters. I forget which one. Not the police, maybe the salaries. And he said, instead of this, let's just do something. I can help you with irrigation and so on. So the little money you are even allocating to development, we use it, make it use. And he was recognized as a leader. So leadership is not just about sitting at the top of the pile.
Yeah.
It is leading in your own community with ideas. An example.
All right, sir. Quick one before the next go. What is your reaction to the protest about ending SARS, metamorphosizing into ending SWAT? Youth reaction about governance. What is your reaction? What do you think about it? Do you think the youth are not doing something right, or do you think this is the right thing that the youth are really embarking on, or what do you think should have been properly done? What's your reaction about it?
Well, I don't know which flies this policeman wants to swap, that so unimaginative. He wants to drop SARS and then change it to SWAT. Is that the kind of answer? By the way, let me say that we tend to go overboard and go extreme in this country. When I read the statement that not one single member of SARS will be allowed to be a member of the new unit, whatever it's called, I was very disturbed. A lot of training has gone into it. Often the wrong training, but certainly some kind of technical professionalism has gone into it. And to say that not one single member will be allowed to come, this is a waste. It reminds me very much of, George Bush, when they overran Iraq, dissolved the army completely, threw thousands on the job market, professionals. Of course, what do? They use their training in the wrong direction. That's where a lot of the violent religious fundamentalism began in that area. Was this man, the head of a democratic nation, didn't understand the nature of interaction of profession with the rest of the community. Just 2,000 like that. And then they were surprised that real top militant opposition to their forces of occupation. So it's the same thing. There's something called vetting process. The rotten eggs are known. Throw a circle around them. See who are their neighbors, put them to one side. Who are their influences, put them to one side. There are ordinary policemen in any unit who are too valuable. Some of us owe our lives, in fact, to the kind of protection given by some of these police. And I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about we go back, all way back years. So you don't just throw the baby out to the bath water. You try to take the simplistic approach to this thing. Same as they do on their side, and they say, okay, we just change the name. It's now SWAT. Both methods are wrong. Absolutely. It's just not imaginative. A new unit must be set up. You've got to have units. You can be called upon wherever they are at any time to deal with the sub. Let's say Boko Haram enters here, scatters us, takes over. Well, I expect the quote-unquote SWAT to come into their own and really show the stuff of which they are made. Yes, that kind of unit is what we're talking about. But when they then go on the start setting up roadblocks and shooting, harassing young people simply for owning an expensive or using an expensive phone, iPod, iPad, iMom, or whatever all these things are called these days. It just shows the level of imbecility that one just cannot understand. You gauge the criminal possibilities of youth simply because maybe they are driving their parents' cars. I mean, this is madness. So let them, now that the government has seen what is unacceptable, now let them go to the drawing board and really work things out rationally, methodically. How long does it take? I think what the population of France create a unit, a vetting unit, through which every single member of France will go. Their records are there, their associates are there, their crimes are there, charged to court, all those whose files have been sitting there. It is not the first kill SARS movement, as you know very well. And panels have been set up. There are those who should have been indicted by now, but Mr. Rick Van Winkle has been sitting on that file. Nothing. So let's get some dissent and rational action out of this government.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Okay, how do you, sir? Anybody want to contribute? Let's just see your hand because you have to be closer to the front.
Good evening, sir. My name is Adwale Okupe, and the question I really have for you goes back to the book you wrote on the interpreter, right? And that's because you wrote about this. The issues we're facing now are not, and it's also that sense of, so some of us are starting to think, how do we think through our problems, and how do we think through it in a way that is not agendistic, but how do we also galvanize youth to come up with creative solutions? And so the question really is about creative consciousness and activism, and I would like to know some of your thoughts on that.
Well, I don't apologize if I seem to be advertising here, which I wrote the interpreters too many years ago. Wait and read the one which is coming out in a few months, called Chronicles. Chronicles from the land of the happiest people on earth.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you might enjoy it. But it just continues in the same vein. The creative solution is multiple. Yes, you watched some sketches there just now. That's one of the ways in which we go out with what we call guerrilla theater. As you know, this is one of the practices we used to have in those days of activist theater, in which you use theater like a grenade. Move to key positions, marketplaces, secretariats, etc., in front of the assembly, houses of assembly, perform your sketch and disappear before the SARS comes and butt you on the head. That's what we used to do with theater. And there's a lot of material, unfortunately, literary material. Unfortunately, many of the people we're talking about, they don't read. Once they be the first to comment on the internet, they think they've read literature. And so your message doesn't really get across. The age of pamphleteering ought to come back. Remember the old math literature in which issues were taken, what I call the rough and tumble language, quick print disposal, etc. These are ways in which you can use literature, and of course there is painting, the graphic art. And so marvelous opportunities. Unfortunately, let me use the opportunity to say this. Some of our cartoonists, they're very good draftsmen, but they're not really very witty. With messages, so you see all these grotesque images in the cartoon, but the captions really do not match the artistry. So the cartoonists, they have a lot but then we just paint it. How, like we have around here, as we have exhibited here from time to time, we even send some of these images to Asoro. Send them through those who at least will be able to explain what the images are, if you know them. Music, of course, is another one. Music is a very powerful tool. I remember how music was used in those early days when we had civilian battles in the government. So we could resort to things like that. The arts are constantly. It's just imagination. And if you are an artist in any way and you don't know how quite to divert that skill to political means, those who can speak among your elders, your seniors who practice, and they will assist.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Tayo Bello. Then there is something that has been disturbing me for a while now. So I've read your works, I've read at least most of your works, and I know your worldview about protests like this. You know, you believe that at some point we've got to talk to the oppressors in the language that they understand, which of course must include violence. I've seen that is evident in your works, and we've been protesting for some while now, and we are not getting the responses that we need. The responses are not even matching up with half of the protests we've been doing. No policeman has been brought to justice. No, we're just being treated like we are just having fun. When we are tired, we'll go and rest. The politicians who have responded are doing so just so that they won't be pointed out as not responsive. So, sir, I want to know how much success do you think you can achieve with this form of protest? Or do you think there is something we can change tactically? Thank you, sir.
I'm very glad you asked that question because sometimes protests become counterproductive. If there's a failure to tune the form of protest to the situation, to the event, and also to understand that even the methodology of protest is got to be, it's not rigid, it's got to be flexible. You must learn that you must be tactics when it becomes obvious that nothing is being achieved, or if you believe that the method you're using at a particular time has been hijacked and is being used by other people, you must be prepared to change. Let me give you an extreme example. Many people have forgotten, and when I give examples, we're exchanging ideas, experience, and so on and so forth. Please understand that I'm not saying go and do thou likewise, because then it's not now. And I must emphasize that. But I'm giving this as an extreme example. When we began the protestation against Sani Abacha, the first stage, many people have forgotten, was stay at home. It was a stay at home phase. That strategy was worked out well. The important thing was that there was a stay at home strategy. And for about a week, going into 2 weeks, this country was locked down. Long before COVID was heard of, the country has been locked down. Along the way, after a week, moving to 2 weeks, it was recognized, those of you who read You Must Have What I've Done will remember that, I mean, something about that. When it was realized that this government, that government, I beg your pardon, was taking it in its stride, That is when tactics changed and it became street protests that grew increasingly more violent. We couldn't control that because the violence from Sonia batters, obviously, and eventually quite a few losses, in number of people perished during that. But protests do not give joy to the opposition. So once again, even when we get out to the streets, we have to make sure that you are in total control, or as much control as possible. You've got to be able to monitor yourself. Monitor, and if you see any stranger among you who's behaving in an odd way, know that there are others, and that they are there, they are plants. And it becomes impossible to control plants. You neutralize them, then you've got to go maybe into the mass mobilizing stage or some other tactics. I will not go into all of that, but the point is that there are so many ways to skin the cat. Above all, you must learn not to be satisfied with half a loaf. That is one of the serious errors protestation have incurred in this country. Don't content with half a loaf. Just organize yourself and be open also, always, to dialogue. I like many features of the Vice President's statement. Gave indication of things they were doing, gave indication of things they plan to do, and that language which he used deserves to be given its measure of trust, but always conditional. There are things like suspended protestation, in which you do not dismantle your barricades, you merely deactivate them for some time. And you've got to make the other side aware of that. Let them know that even if you are deactivating protestation, it doesn't mean that you are dismantling your barricades. That's very important. But you mustn't lose the opportunity also of dialogue. I believe, after reading the Vice President's speech, that maybe it's time for dialogue. I sincerely think that. Again, it should be a dialogue of sincerity. Don't behave like a trade union. Don't behave like Nigeria's trade union. Dialogue from a position of strength, always. You show your strength. Now it's up to you to show that it is strength under control. It's structured strength. It's not just bravura strength, and it's not mindless slogans. The statement which was made, the 5-pound demand, for instance, showed at least some thinking, showed some, so that there are meeting points, so that this thing has been thought out. This is one of the good things, the really positive things about this protestation. Yes, we see the bravura activity on the streets, but when you feel that behind it is a clear statement of resolve, of having worked things out, of knowing why, at this particular moment, things have reached boiling point. Always remaining aware of that. That's the intelligent way of bringing a government to heel, making a government understand that it is part and parcel of civic community, not an alienated community which has just been dropped from the outer planet. So please be flexible, continue to be structured, even more structured, be rational, and just don't be. All right? I am trying very hard at to find the right word. Because tomorrow I will get back and I will elaborate.
do something now, but we're losing light on Facebook, Zoom, and YouTube. So to save time, sir, we're going to take starting from Madam. Take all the questions, we take notes, and then you can respond to all of them. Okay.